Okay guys, in this video, what I would like to do is I would like to just talk about what will be on exam 1. So this is for the unit 1 exam. I'm gonna bullet point what things will be on there so that you'll be prepared. The date of this exam is going to be September 3rd. Okay, September 3rd, which I believe is on a Thursday. Okay, so we'll have all of next week. I'm checking my calendar. We'll have all of next week to go through everything, and then we will start to review for this exam. And the one thing that I really want to stress to you that's important, yes, it is on a Thursday. The one thing that I really want to stress to a lot of you is I want to commend those of you that have been coming to my office hours, which is from 3:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Okay, and I may just be doing them Monday through Thursday, but I'm open to just continuing for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Definitely running 5 days a week, of course. Okay. Now, one thing I also want to say is that starting next week, which is on the 24th, I want to say tutorials will become mandatory. So one thing that I will be doing between today and tomorrow, so I'll make an announcement on Tuesday, the 25th, is I will be saying who needs to come to tutorials, and then it will be mandatory, and your parent will also be contacted if you're not showing up for tutorials. So based off of your exit tickets, and I cannot stress to you enough that, again, we go through class, we do practice problems, you're to be engaged, you're to be focused, right? And you need to make sure that you're taking notes along with me, ask questions where you need to, use the chat box. But I have some people that are not turning in the exit tickets. Those of you that have not turned in specific exit tickets will go ahead and have a 0. And it's just really important that you realize your grade at this point virtually is a combination of your exit tickets, and then that's pretty much it. Your exit tickets, I take into consideration participation when I call on people. And then, of course, we have this exam coming up, all right? So it's really, really important that when I say, in general, the exit tickets are for a grade, make sure that you get them done. If there's a glitch or an issue, make sure that you still get with me individually and get them done because they are for a grade. So I'll be going through the exit tickets that were done over the last 2 weeks, and then I will let you know what grades I have for you guys. All right, so let's get into what exam 1 is over. And this will tell me, where you guys are in terms of what we've completed. So exam 1, all right, the first day we started with order of operations. That will not be on the test. That is a huge review. So the first thing that you need to make sure you have mastered is one-step equations. That will be on the exam. You need to know how to do two-step equations. So remember that we started off everything with equations. So two-step equations will be on exam 1. So will multi-step. I'm going to put a star by that because, again, multi-step equations sound just like what it seems like is there's multiple steps and you have to keep up with isolating your variable. Let me zoom in. So again, you have one-step equation, two-step equations, multi-step. I finished this as of last Friday, which I want to say was the 21st. So look over your notes, extremely rewrite them if you want to again. Everything from the beginning of school all the way till 8:21, I would look over those notes and make sure I'm very solid with equations, one-step, two-step, and then multi-step. Remember, this is the class that falls under linear equations. So everything that has to do with linear equations, grab your worksheets and your notes and study everything with linear equations. All right, now, when we go into tomorrow, which is the 24th of August, we are going to talk about the last thing of equations, which is called special solutions. So again, they are still solving equations, but there's these special solutions, these special cases that come about when we're solving equations, and this also will be on the exam. And then that's where equations will come to an end. So this is the last skill. It has not been taught. That's why I put a star by it. But you've already been taught everything up to last Friday over one step, two step, and multi-step. All right. Now, then we're going to move into, again, this is for tomorrow, which is 8/24. We start this. And then as we go through the rest of the week, we're going to get into inequalities. So we got linear inequalities. And I'm going to put a symbol. This is the things, or equations, I'm sorry, that have to do with the greater than and less than. So the greater than, the less than, sometimes you can even see greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So anything that has a symbol that looks like this, and that's what we're going to get into this week all the way till Friday, is solving equations with linear inequalities. And so there'll be different types, okay? There will be linear inequalities, just like what equations was like. There will be some one-step. There'll be some one-step. There will be some two-step inequalities that you have to know how to solve for. And then there will, of course, be multi-step. I missed my L. Multi-step inequalities. And you will not have to worry about special cases. All right? And then this will conclude and end everything for Unit 1. Let me also, it just came to my mind, give me a second, is I want to put a note up here that when we talk about doing multi-step, remember that there is multi-step just with one side, and then there's stuff with both sides. So I definitely want to put a star. And so multi-step equations, basically with terms on both sides. Okay, make sure that you watch the multi-step video. Okay, so again, this video is just to highlight the Unit 1 exam, which will be on September the 3rd, okay, on a Thursday. This is everything that exam is going to cover. Sorry, the exam is going to cover everything over equations, linear equations, and everything over inequalities, things that have the less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to signs, okay? So please make sure that you have wrote this down, put this somewhere really important. And then also in this video, I want to just go back over the rule of integers real quick, just because this will be somewhere that you can refer back to this. Because again, the one thing I'm noticing is quite a few students are having issues with remembering their integer rules and just being more comfortable with them, just like your multiplication facts. So I'm going to start with the easier ones real quick. So here are the rule of integers. Rule of integers. Okay. And I want to do the easy ones. So if you are multiplying or dividing integers, which are negative and positive numbers. So when we say integers, think positive and negative numbers. The rules are the same. So if I have a positive times a positive, it will be positive always. Always. Okay? So if I had, again, the multiplication doesn't change. So if I had, 7 times 3, that is a positive 21. And you do not have to put the sign. I just did that so everyone could see that. And then if you have a negative times a negative, it is going to be positive. And again, that is always an absolute. So always going to be positive. So if we had negative 7 times negative 3, it would have been a positive 21 again. All right. So the one thing that you have to remember is if they have the same sign and you're doing multiplication, the answer is always going to be positive. Now, if they have opposite signs, a negative or a positive. So if we have a positive times a negative or a negative times a positive, the answer is going to be negative always. So that's the beauty of, again, the multiplication and division rules. So just don't forget, let me get a highlighter, I can find one super fast, is that if you have the same sign, okay, if they have the same sign, it's positive always. Okay, if they have the same sign. If it is negative, I'll change colors, if it's a negative and a positive and you're doing multiplication, then it's going to be negative. Okay, so you want to get you some highlighters or something, do that. So that should just really stick out to you, that if it's a positive and a negative multiplied, or a negative and a positive, it's negative. Now the rules are the same for division. Okay, so for dividing, if you have a positive divided by a positive, it's going to be positive always. If it's a negative divided by a negative, it's going to be positive always. Whoops, I'm off the screen, sorry. And if you have a positive divided by a negative, or a negative divided by a positive, it's negative always. Okay, now in some things with math, of course, we want you always to be able to comprehend and understand the things that we're asking. Some things you just go with the flow and you accept it until, as you get further down and deeper in math, your light bulb comes on. So there are some things, I will be honest with you, as I've done higher levels of math, I just have accepted and trusted my teacher, and it's all manifested and made sense later down the line. So please, I really, really cannot stress. Again, the division doesn't change. So if I had something like 10 divided by 5, right guys, this would be positive 2. So just put equal 2. And if I had negative 10 divided by negative 5, again, it would be positive 2. Okay, so if they're the same sign, it stays positive. Okay, now of course, if I had negative 10 divided by 5, it's going to be negative 2, and vice versa. If I would have had a positive 10 over a negative 5, this is still negative 2. So I just wanted to show you the division does not change, the multiplication does not change. Please make sure that you know these rules. Super duper easy, easy, and you need to know your multiplication facts. All right, so let's move to the tougher ones, which have to do with our addition and subtraction. And then I'll end this video. I already had these written down from class. I also will be making a folder called for teacher notes, and I will upload these as well. So I'm trying to do all that I can to make sure that you're successful this year. Please allow me to support you, and then make sure that you're doing your part. All right, so again, if we have, I'm going to zoom in. So again, this is the rule of integers, but in this case, we're talking about addition. Pause the video if you need to pause the video. So these are the addition rules. And what I like to do, one more time, is I like to memorize the addition rules, okay? Just like I memorized the multiplication and division, and then I change my subtraction sentences into these 3 rules. So let's go over them. So rule number 1. Rule number 1. If you have a positive plus a positive, you're going to add and keep it positive always. So if we had something like 5 plus 3, we already know that. That's from elementary school. We add it. It's just 8. Okay? Rule number 2 says that when we have a negative plus a negative, okay, we're going to still add those 2 numbers together and keep it negative. And again, that's another always. Okay? So, again, the way to think about this in the real world is if we were negative money in our bank account, and if we swiped our card to pay for something, we would become more negative. So that's why you do adding and it's negative. Rule number 4 is the tricky one. Rule number 3 is the tricky one. If you have a positive plus a negative, if you have a negative plus a positive, you are not going to add, you are going to subtract. Your solution will be either what? Positive or negative after you do your subtraction. And what does it depend on? Right there. We keep the sign of the bigger number, right? So let me put that on there on the screen. So again, if we had -5 plus a +3, we're subtracting for 2, and it's a -2 because of that -5. Here, we have 5 plus -3, we still subtracted for 2, but it's a +2 because that 5 is bigger. All right, and then here's 2 more. If we had -7 plus 4, we're subtracting these two numbers for 3, but it's a -3 because the 7 was negative. And here, 8 plus -6, subtracting for 2, and it's a +2. So to go over those one more time, this is the tricky one, and please memorize these as well, okay? If you have a positive plus a negative plus a positive, you're subtracting, keeping the sign of the bigger number. If you have a negative plus a negative, you're going to add and keep it negative for the sign. And of course, if we have a positive plus a positive, we're going to add and keep it positive always. So that, again, are the rule of integers for addition, all right? Now, if we have subtraction, okay, we have subtraction rules. We're changing them again into those addition rules. So that's why this will make this easy for us. Okay. Give me a second. Okay, just still making sure I'm recording. Okay, so for subtraction, if I have a positive minus a positive, what I'm going to do is I don't want that negative subtraction sentence or a subtraction sentence. I want to change it into a positive. So I'm changing that minus into a plus, and then I bump back the negative. So I say, bump back, bumping back the negative. And this is what that changes into. It's basically a what? A positive plus. I change the minus to a plus, and then a negative. Okay, so again, this I'm going to subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number, which is rule number 3 on the other side of the paper. So here's an example. I had actually 5 minus 4 originally, and then I changed it to a plus, and then I bumped back the negative. I'm subtracting for 1, and it's a positive 1 because the 5 is bigger. Same thing for this one. I had 5 minus 20. I changed this to a plus, bumped back the negative, negative 15. Okay, subtracted, kept the sign of the bigger number. Okay, so again, this one, if you ever see this, positive minus a positive, it's basically rule number 3. Subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. All right, let's look at this one here. I just got to draw a couple of lines to separate them. All right, this one. If we have a positive minus a negative, okay? If we have a positive minus a negative, what we say is minus minus will change into plus plus. So minus will change into plus because of that double negative. And the reasoning behind this, guys, is because you remember how we've talked about, and we'll continue to talk about, the distributive property? Okay, basically if there's a minus in front of the parentheses, there's like a -1 right here. So whatever's inside the parentheses, basically -1 is going to multiply by this negative number, and it changes it into a positive number. That's basically what's happening, okay? Either remember that it's minus minus, plus plus, or just understand that -1 times whatever is in this parentheses, a negative times a negative is a positive. Everything will turn back to positivity. So if you look at this example, I changed this minus into a plus, I changed that minus into a plus, and I'm back to look, rule number 1 for the rule of integers for addition. So I had on here originally 6 minus a -3. I changed the minus minus to a plus plus, and then I'm just adding, right? I'm adding and then just keeping whatever my value is. So it's add always, which is rule number 1. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Let's go to the other two. Let me see. Yeah. Let's go to the other one. Another one, okay, are the two negatives sentences. So if I have a negative minus a negative, all right, let's see what rule does this one change into. Is this rule number 1 of addition, rule number 2, or rule number 3? So basically, again, I see that minus minus, it's going to change to plus plus. So I'm going to put minus minus changes to plus. plus. Okay, so what was this will actually be this. Leave this one alone, change to a plus and a plus. And that again looks like rule number 3 from the other side of the paper. So this looks like rule number 3, which says what? We're going to subtract because they're opposite signs and keep the sign of the bigger number. Okay, here's an example. If I had negative 10 minus a negative 4, I leave this one alone. Minus minus will become plus plus. I will subtract. 10 minus 4 is 6, but it's a negative 6 because the 10 was bigger. It's pretty straightforward, right? Okay, and the very last one is what happens when we have a minus minus a positive. Okay, this one is the bump back again, right? So again, what I'll end up doing is I'll bump back the negative, bump back. Okay, bump back the negative. So this transforms into, I want to say rule number 2, because I'll leave the negative alone, change that minus to a plus. I'm bumping back the negative. So look, now it's back here, and see, this is rule number 2 for the addition rules. So this is rule number 2. And what was the rule? That we're going to add, keep it negative always. Sorry about that. Okay, add the 2 values together and keep it negative. So back to this problem. If I had negative 12 minus a 6, all right, what this is going to do is I'm going to change that to a plus, bump back the negative, and there is a negative 18. Okay, guys, so from the top, I have gone over the rule of integers for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You should be solid on that. I will definitely remind me to upload it, but I'm already going to be, it'll be a day that I'll be thinking about, oh yeah, let me upload all my teacher notes from class. Again, your Unit 1 exam is September the 3rd, which is a Thursday, and the Unit 1 exam will cover everything we've done with linear equations. This week, we're going to talk about special solutions on Monday, and then we're going to go through inequalities Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I want to say Friday possibly, depending on how we do with our exit tickets. But on Friday, I will start to review for this exam. And then I want to say on Monday and Tuesday, we will review, see how we feel, play some games, and then the exam will be on Thursday. Best of luck to you guys. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this was helpful. And again, please make sure that you subscribe so you get notifications to this channel so that you can be able to see when I upload videos. All right? See you guys tomorrow.